Friday, August 17th, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'd like to thank the viewers again for their support, donations, for their purchases in the Monaco 64 store. We've got End the Fed mugs, End the Fed stickers. We got Billy mugs, t-shirts, End the Fed t-shirts, and it really helps. And today, though, I want to talk about how holding this stuff, fiat money, this is a 10-pound note, or dollar note, or euro note, or Australian dollar note, holding that and also having your money or wealth in the system, in the banking system, in the stock market. I'll show you how that helps perpetuate the globalists, the New World Order guys. I was looking at an old book I have yesterday, and part of it, they were talking about the Rothschilds, how they started out, and it's clear as day what we're doing by being in this system, and I will talk about it after I go through what the market is doing. So the book, just to let you know, is this one here, The World Order, Our Secret Rulers by Eustace Mullins. And I'll put a link below in the description. You can get it on Amazon. This is a hardback. It's quite expensive. They have softback, cheaper on Amazon. I highly recommend this book. So I'll talk about it a little later. And what it means to be in the system, and why it's important. Even if you don't hold gold or silver, you can maybe hold something else, or maybe use that wealth or money that you have to buy something else that you think is more worthwhile than keeping it in that system. Pay off debt, because being in debt is the same thing as being in that system. It helps them finance the system. So it's 8:35 a.m. London. So we're gonna have a quick look at the markets. Yesterday, of course, the stock market went up massively. I think the Dow was up over 400 points. So there's another headline about China and US getting back to talk about trade. We've seen that happen before. It hasn't been denied again. So for now, the markets, the stock markets are still up there. Gold yesterday had an interesting day. We had a sharp drop overnight from Wednesday to Thursday down to 1160. Then we rebounded quite sharply throughout the day up to as high as I think 1182 or thereabouts. And then it crept back lower as the US market ended the day, which is usually what happens. Silver outperformed a lot. I had a look at the gold-silver ratio like a week or so ago. The gold-silver ratio was looking like it was going to drop. It looked like we had a head and shoulder. Technical analysis sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. This time it didn't, because when the precious metals dumped earlier this week, that ratio popped, I think, to around 82, but right now is back below, just below 80. So that's what's going on there. So right now, gold is basically unchanged from the late close yesterday. 1175, up about $1. The range has been 1172 to 1179.50. Silver 1464. 1465, really unchanged. The range has been 1458 to 1475. The Dow is up another 38.5 points. Seems to be something that always keeps going up, the Dow, for now. So 25,595. The recent all-time high, if you don't remember, is 26,600 or thereabouts earlier this year in January. So we're still 1,000 points below the all-time high. S&P is up 2 points, 28.42. NASDAQ is down only a couple of points, 73.72. What about the currencies? They're fairly steady right now, not much movement. the fiat currencies. The pound is unchanged, well, 127.15. The low's been 127, the high 127.50. Euro 113.82, up 6 pips, so virtually unchanged as well. The dollar's down about 0.15% against the yen, 110.73. Chinese yuan, the dollar's up 0.2% against the Chinese currency at 6.87, and crude oil is right around 65 right now. And what about the Italian 10-year yield, which spiked up yesterday? It came back down a little bit, but it's still at 3.11. I think we need to keep an eye on that. For now, things are okay in terms of the Italian government bond. The U.S. 10-year yield, it's 2.86, so they've got it capped at 3% for now. So the World Order, Our Secret Rulers, highly recommend the book by Eustace Mullins. I think he died a few years ago. He was contacted when he was really young in the early 50s by Ezra Pound. And he started researching the Federal Reserve at the Library of Congress. And even in this book, he acknowledges, "I wish to thank the staffs of the following institutions for their unfailing courtesy, cooperation, and assistance in the preparation of this work. The Library of Congress, Washington, D.C., Newberry Library, Chicago, Illinois, New York City Public Library, Alderman Library, University of Virginia, McCormick Library, and Washington Lee University." So what about the, what do I mean if you keep your money in the system? Or if you keep it like in these notes, you're financing what Eustace Mullins calls the World Order, or some people call it the New World Order, or some other people call it the Globalist. Well, it's very simple, because the fiat money is backed by the national debt. I mean, I even asked the Bank of England, because they have a promissory note here. It says on their note, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10. I've asked them before, what do you pay those £10 in? And they said, "Oh, nothing. This is just means that we exchanged this note for a new one." And I asked, "So what are your, what's the banknote backed by?" And they said, "Well, it's by the national debt." So every time you were in the system, even if you borrowing from the system, when you borrow from the system, it means that the banks create more debt, and that debt is always backed by the government debt. In the UK's gilts, in the US's treasuries. So if you participate in the game, in this fiat money game, you are, being a accomplice to it. You're helping finance it. So what are the ways to get out of it? Well, the most simple, common sense way is not to deal with these people. If you don't deal with them, you're not in the game. And you might say, well, it's really hard. Yeah, because you need to buy things every day, survive, buy food, heat your house or whatever, pay for everything, services. Yes, you need to keep a minimum to do that. But if you are fortunate enough to be able to accumulate extra capital or extra money that you can put away, then you have to try to avoid playing the game with these guys. And that's why I don't play the stock market either, because by playing the stock market, you're financing the banks, because they hypothecate your holdings. When you want to get out, you got to go back into the fiat money. So yeah, what about mining stocks? Well, that's like the rule of trying not to play the game too much. You are in the game there, but you're actually trying to fight them within the game, because it's precious metals. So what part of the book gave me the eureka moment about how to explain to people about this? Well, it's this. It's on page 7 when he's talking about the Rothschilds. It says, and I quote, "The first concept of success in making government loans lies in creating demand." So creating demand, that means having, you need people to want that government loan, or the other side of the government loan, the fiat money. You got to make them think that they need the credit card, that they need the mortgage, that they need the car loan, so that it keeps the system flowing. That is, by taking part in the creation of financial panics, depressions, famines, wars, and revolutions. So he even goes on to say that that's the other way they create demand for these. It's not only through consumer credit and making you think you need things, but also by dividing people, dividing nations, creating fear. They create demand for government debt, because government is supposed to protect you, right? So if there's always trouble, there's panics, and that's why they create these panics themselves within this fiat money system, so that the government can come in and fix things like they did in '08, bail things out, right? Like they did in have done other times when the Fed comes in and with the backing of the government, because the Fed issues its notes with government backing, right? They wouldn't have been able to bail out the system, the Fed, if the taxpayer hadn't, or the government hadn't been behind them. So that's the other thing they do. They keep creating these fears of financial panic, and I know we talk about that here, and that's why you need to be outside the system. Don't play the game. But they play on our weaknesses, our greed, and that's what happens. People say, "Oh, if I get out of the game, I won't be able to make loads of fiat wealth from not being in the market." Yeah, that's how they do it. They pump the things that need to keep their system going, i.e. the stock market, the bond markets, and they have a huge campaign against the things that you really need to keep yourself free. And that's what I do. Gold and silver, stay out of the system. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies as well, being out of the system. And that's why I don't encourage people to get into Bitcoin ETFs created by the system, no debt. And I know it's hard, but it can be done. And it's, if you're younger and you're not in the game or in the system in terms of debt, it's easier for you. You can just stay outside. And that's why they come out with editorials like they did 14 years ago in the FT, going gold. The pointlessness of holding bullion continues to sink in. And that was when gold was $400 an ounce. I remember at the time the Rothschilds had gotten out of the gold, which is partly true. They weren't making they weren't involved in the fixing or LBMA anymore, but you can bet that they still have tons of gold. But that's what they do. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can also follow me on Steam, DTube, and on Twitter. Talk to you later. Take care. Bye.